In this segment of the ProCare webinar, we'll be going through configuration, which is where you set the choices for the pull-down menus that you have in ProCare. So I'm going to click on ProCare Home, Configuration, System, and I'm going to touch on two different areas. One of them is Locations and Users, and the bulk of family data will be in Data Management. We'll go there in about 2 or 3 minutes. In Locations and Users, at Regions and Schools, I'm going to double-click, and I'm going to go down to Set Options. If you can, and you have just one school, try to set the options at the region level as opposed to the school. If I go to the region options, under General, this is where I can put in my tax ID number if I want that to appear on different reports for families, a lot of which are the family accounting reports. I can set the hours of operation for the center here at the bottom. Under Family Data, I can pick my scheduling type. The first day of week you probably want to set to Monday in case you run a 5-day report, because otherwise if you set it to Sunday, you will run out of days by Thursday. So 5-day reports, select Monday. Tracking items, if you do use usage limits, this is where you can set your warning that you're coming upon a limit. And immunizations usually is defaulted to 30. In this case, it's set to 45. On any of these, you can just retype and change it to what you want at any one point in time. If you use full-time equivalents for the purpose of scheduling, this is where you'd set the full-time equivalent numbers. In the school level, let's say I save this and exit, is where I would set up my email configuration. So I'll click on the plus. Let's say I have just one school. I would highlight the school. I would go straight down to Set Options. I would go over in the General tab. And at the bottom here, I would work on my email options. Throughout ProCare, if you have a question on a screen, click the question mark, and we'll take you to help about whatever it is that you're on. So in this case, the first option in terms of an article is the region and school options. And you can see the next one down is how to set your email up if you wanted to do that. In ProCare Support, if you have a specific question, click on the little magnifying glass or the search and go ahead and type in whatever the question is. So let's say it was email, and it was something regarding email. You'll see a predictive number of different articles come up, and you can hit enter and scroll through all of the different choices that are related to email. I'm going to exit out of here right now and go back. We've, let's say, set our email options. I'm going to exit once. Instead of setting options, if you wanted to put the information in for the center, I'm going to click on Edit. This is where you can change who the director is, where the school is located, phone number, and/or email address. You can also add a logo if you wanted that to appear on some of the reports. I'm going to exit again. The balance of configuration is here at Data Management. Here at Data Management, you could do things, for instance, at Status and Relationships. If I click on the plus, I can add descriptions for child's enrollment statuses, child relationships. I'm going to double click on that one as an example. And if these relationships weren't enough or you wanted it hyphenated, you could go ahead and change whatever description you wanted here, and you can add new descriptions up at the top. Active means that it is selectable in the interface. I'm going to exit without saving, and I'm going to go over to tracking items now. If you do make a new tracking item, I'd recommend you do it under Global. I'm going to double click to set up tracking items such as marketing or maybe a child allergy. You'd go to the category that you want to do it. So let's say child, and maybe I want to add an allergy. I'm going to click on that plus, and I could add a new allergy name over here at the top. Again, if you need help on any of these, click the question mark. And again, if I'm in global tracking, I will get taken to support regarding global tracking specifically. I'm going to close out of there. Once you create a new tracking item in ProCare, you'll see this Expose button become available, And the notion of expose is I've created it in the interface, but I want to make sure my center sees it. If you have just one center, click on the main icon. If you have multiple centers, you can click the down arrow and select which centers you want that item to be exposed to. The next area you might go to is scheduling, and that is where you would define any classrooms you had and what the ratios would be. So I click the plus. Be aware that any classrooms that you make need to be declared as work areas first. So I'm going to make a new classroom right now. I'm double-clicking on work areas. I'll call this the green room. I can put it in a department. Departments are used for about 4 different reports. If you don't maintain departments and you don't care about departments, it doesn't much matter what you select. I'm going to save and exit. I've created a work area, but it's not a classroom. I'm double-clicking on classrooms. I'm clicking up here in the blank area, and I will declare the green room that I just made a work area to be a classroom. You don't need to put in and out times in. If you are going to be doing schedules, you probably want these because these will be the default hours for that room. The ratio would simply be how many students there would be to one teacher. And you'd save and exit. Another major icon is the immunization and requirements. And in here, I'm going to double click. If you double click on any of these descriptions, you can add and modify what the rules are for that particular immunization, or you can simply add a brand new immunization by clicking on New. There are also another set of immunizations that are for employee data. Requirements are much like immunizations, but they are simply something like an annual physical you might set up as a requirement. And the last item that you might do here is under miscellaneous. And the major one here would be the text messaging networks. If you do want to send your parents texts, you double click here beforehand, click on download and update so that ProCare will have a lookup table for what different carriers use for an email address so that you can send them texts. And that's a brief overview of typical areas you'd go through when you're first setting up ProCare.